I'd like to officially begin the opening ceremony by welcoming you all to enjoy with me the first ever Losar celebration to be held at the Parliament House of Victoria, in which we gather today. My name is Tibean and I'm from Tibet with credits, but I didn't link them in. As you can see, the one at the bottom, that's a Buddha sculpture. It's not very commonly made at home by skilled people, and people usually shop for those for Losar. As well as we have some kapse, and in every Tibetan home are bountifully decorated with offerings of auspicious items. It's a Tibetan way of saying peace. Some of the commonly offerings found in the sacred object Losar are derka, yuncha, lupu, champu, luko, po, and chemash. These are some of the kapse types. We have multiple, but when stacking up a derka, the most commonly used are the roja in the middle, and yasha on the bottom. There are also other simpler styles. The picture on the right is from a local monastery in India that was celebrating Losar. is older, but Wutuk is usually only enjoyed on 29th. Desi is also made on special occasions, not just reserved for Losar. Usually made just before Losar and enjoyed on the midnight when Losar starts. And finally, I've got His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama giving his Losar greetings of this year.
In exile, for example, its primary elements are the sun and moon above the Himalayan mountains, which is surrounded by snow in Tibet.
At its best, because this place is here to represent the Victorian community, and you are such an important part of the Victorian community. To be able to celebrate our traditional values, cultures and traditions and our festivities is such an important part of the different communities here in Victoria, including the Tibetan community. I'm from the Tamil Sri Lankan community, also a migrant to Australia, and I recognise how important it is to have the support to be able to do events like these. Just in the beautiful traditions you allowed us to participate in earlier this morning, I noticed a young one here learning alongside the elders about the new traditions, and it's events like these where you can actually learn those from your elders, and we certainly benefit from it from our own community. So I want to thank the Tibetan community of Australia Victoria for your incredible work in coordinating the community and bringing the community together, and we are so proud and pleased to be able to support you in your work. May this be the first of many events that we host in Parliament alongside you. As we've heard this morning, and it has been such a beautiful morning, so firstly a big thank you for welcoming us so warmly to share your traditions and culture with you this morning. We also know that for the Tibetan people, the ongoing struggle for self-determination, for the preservation of your identity, your culture, traditions, language and values is ongoing. It's something that you hold so deeply in everything that you do. And I know that from my work and interactions with the Tibetan community in Victoria, you do this with such honour and with such grace. And as we heard from His Holiness just this morning, which was such a wonderful thing to open this event with, that spirit of compassion and kindness is something that you are revered across the world for. It is indeed, as His Holiness said, a treasure for the world that needs to be preserved and that needs to be shared. As we think about all the conflicts and the struggles, including yours, that prevail over so many people in the world, especially now, where we're seeing such atrocities committed against people who too are persecuted, who too are displaced, who too's language and tradition and values is attempting to be erased. It's so important that with your history of struggle and determination, that we carry those values of kindness, compassion and generosity into the world. And I think it's so important, especially in a parliament where there's so much lively debate in these chambers week on week, that developing a good heart, as His Holiness mentioned, peace begins with developing a good heart. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing that with the world. It is so important. And I think one thing I'll leave you with is, one thing I've picked up from the Tibetan people is your strength. I can't imagine how hard it must be, day on day, to continue the struggle for your people, sometimes being so far away from it. But take heart from the strength that you bring to that struggle, because that strength will mean that you will prevail and you will succeed into the future. Our best wishes for your New Year celebrations, and thank you for welcoming us into your celebrations today.
Thank you so much. My name is Tim Reid. I'm the State MP for Brunswick. And as Samantha said, this is the Legislative Assembly, the big room with the green seats next door. Samantha's in a somewhat smaller room with the red seats over there, more gold though. It's a prettier room she gets. So, and Ave Puglielli, please, Ave, stand up. Is the other Member of Parliament with us? Also from the City Council. And Parliament is not normally as beautiful and tuneful as it's been this morning. It's really nice to have this gathering and to see you all. So Tashi Dalek from me as well. And Samantha's said exactly what I think, so I won't repeat all of her words. I'll just pick one thing from what Samantha said. Language. So many cultures are being erased by another big, powerful culture that takes over. In your case, the Chinese. For the First Nations, the Aboriginal people here, it's my people who've done so much to erase their culture. And 200 years later, some of us, not enough, but some of us, and particularly the First Nations people, the descendants of those people, are really trying to keep language alive, or often recreate language, try and bring it back to life. Which is why it's so important if you can keep your language going, because you can look in a book and see Latin, but no one knows exactly how the Romans spoke Latin, because there's no living Latin community. But there are many living, thriving Tibetan communities with their culture. And it's our job to support you to keep it going, to keep it alive. And I'm so impressed with what you've achieved. And it may be a very long time. I hope it's not 200 years, but it may be a very long time, but it's worth it, because one day people will value what you've done to keep it going. So, happy Tibetan New Year, and thank you again for having us.
Tashi Dalek. Hi, I'm Samantha Ratnam. I'm the leader of the Victorian Greens, and I want to send our best wishes to the Tibetan community celebrating New Year. I know this is a very special time, and today has been a very special day as we supported the first Tibetan New Year celebrations in the Victorian Parliament. We've seen wonderful performances of music and dance and culture, and heard about the history and the effort of the community to keep the culture, the language, the values alive of the Tibetan community. We understand and know that the Tibetan community continues its struggle for self-determination, for its identity, for its culture, values and language to survive, despite the ongoing oppression of its people. It's really important through events like these that we hear about the Tibetan struggle, but we also get to understand the culture and traditions more deeply. The Tibetan traditions and values are something that the world can learn from so much. the compassion, the courage and the kindness with which the Tibetan people carry themselves in the world is something that we could all learn from, and true peace begins with the kindness from the heart, as we've heard from His Holiness today. So our best wishes to all of you.
To be here today, celebrating Tibetan culture, Tibetan tradition, language, joy and kindness to be shared with many right across Victoria. We know that we learn so much as a state when we listen, preserve and celebrate all diverse cultures, and there is so much that Tibetan people and Tibetan culture has to offer us here in Victoria. My name is Ave Puliali, and as the member for North Eastern Metropolitan Region with the Greens, alongside my Greens colleagues, Dr Samantha Ratnam and Dr Tim Reid, member for Brunswick, it was a real honour to be here with everyone today. The first time that the Tibetan New Year has been celebrated within the Victorian Parliament, so today is a significant day. To everyone, go forward with kindness in the heart, and we all admire the strength of the Tibetan people. Thank you.
Chesa